Okay, so imagine this. A starting point so remote, so disconnected from, the centers of power that the whole story feels almost like a legend.
He really does.
We're diving deep today into the truly extraordinary journey of Banna Venkatesh, a young man whose beginnings in this tiny, tiny village in Andhra Pradesh just make his final achievement, well, pretty stunning.
Yeah, and what grabs you immediately, I think, is the sheer scale of ambition that grew in what you might think is pretty infertile ground for that kind of dream.
Exactly. Talk about Alladapeta.
Right, Alladapeta,
Yeah.
try to picture it. It's a community, maybe 500 people tops. Everyone knows everyone.
Hmm.
Your neighbors, their parents, probably the grandparents too, and the nearest town, like a proper town.
How far?
It's a 2-hour trip by bullet.
Wow. 2 hours.
Yeah, electricity is, well, it's not always a given. There's one school. So for most people there, life's ambitions are naturally focused, maybe on the next harvest or finding a steady local job, something safe.
Makes sense. And right in the middle of this, you've got Venkatesh. His dad, Chandra Rao, was a local trader, really resourceful, apparently good at bartering.
Mm,
And his mother, Rohini, a homemaker, skilled at making ends meet. Luxuries weren't really part of the picture.
not at all.
Yet picture this. Under the village's one big banyan tree, which was kind of a landmark,
Right.
studying borrowed textbooks by the light of a kerosene lamp, while other kids might be dreaming of, I don't know, a new bicycle,
Yeah, simpler things.
he was looking much, much further ahead. Almost impossibly far, you might think.
It really does make you wonder where that spark came from, doesn't it? In
Mm.
that specific environment. Such a huge contrast to the day-to-day reality there.
Totally.
And it wasn't just, I want a better job.
Yeah.
His goal was the IAS, the Indian Administrative Service.
Okay, so for anyone listening who might not be familiar, let's just quickly explain the IAS.
Sure. It's basically seen as the absolute peak of India's civil services, the bureaucracy.
Right. These are the people making major policy decisions, implementing huge programs, stuff that affects millions of lives.
Yeah, think about the kind of authority involved. Signing off on things that really shape the country, navigating that whole complex government machine.
It's a massive responsibility. And the way in, the UPSC exam.
Oh, the exam. Calling it difficult is, well, it doesn't quite cut it, does it?
Not even close. Someone described it like trying to climb Mount Everest
Mm,
while also running a marathon
okay.
and solving a Rubik's Cube,
Right.
blindfolded, while someone's shouting random history dates at you.
That's actually a pretty good analogy. It
Yeah.
captures the sheer overload,
It's this intense three-stage thing, right? The prelims first, then the mains.
which is just brutal. 9 different
No.
papers, I think, over 5 days. Really tests your endurance as much as your knowledge.
And then the personality review, if you even get that far.
And the odds, the success rate is incredibly low, like 0.2%.
0.2. So fewer than 1 in 500 people who apply actually make it all the way through.
It's astronomical, really. So
Right.
when you take Venkatesh, starting from Alladapeta,
Mhm.
the odds against him were just, yeah, almost impossible to calculate.
Yeah.
What hits you hardest about someone setting that kind of goal from that starting line?
For me, it's that first decision, that audacious dream taking hold so early, that unwavering focus right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission today, our deep dive, is really clear. We want to unpack how Venkatesh from Alladapeta, with all those limitations, actually managed to climb this academic Everest.
Yeah. What were the key ingredients?
Exactly. What were the crucial steps, the mindset, the support, and what can we maybe learn from his incredible story?
Well, his first real crack at it was in 2022,
Mm,
right after he finished his engineering degree, which he did at a local college in Srikakulam.
okay.
He moved to Vijayawada, that was the nearest city with, proper coaching centers. And the conditions he lived in were very basic, really basic.
Just focused on studying.
Totally. Dedicating himself completely. Reports say 14 hours a day, every single day.
14 hours.
And here's something. He actually cleared the prelims on his first try.
Wow. Okay, so that's like getting past the first huge hurdle in that crazy triathlon we talked about.
Exactly. But then came the mains.
Hmm.
And by his own admission, apparently that just overwhelmed him. That's a
Wow.
good reminder, isn't it? That pure hard work, while you absolutely need it, isn't always the only thing.
Right. There's technique, there's strategy involved in exams like this. Maybe that first time he hadn't quite figured out the art of the long-form essay under pressure or how to structure answers perfectly.
Could be. And what's really telling, I think, is how he reacted to that failure. He didn't just get discouraged and give up.
No.
No, it seems like he really used it. Treated it as critical feedback, a
Sure.
learning experience. He realized he wasn't just up against the exam papers, but maybe also his own, perceived limits.
That ability to bounce back, to analyze what went wrong,
Right.
that's huge.
It is. You see that resilience in so many stories of people who achieve amazing things after setbacks. Maybe he went back over his papers, pinpointed where his arguments were weak or where he wasn't clear enough.
So, okay, fast forward to 2023. Second attempt.
Right. Now he's going in smarter. He's
Right.
clearly done that analysis, that postmortem on the first try. He seems to have really refined his approach.
How so?
Well, reports suggest he put a lot more focus on improving his writing skills, getting better at time management, which is absolutely critical in the mains,
Definitely.
and just developing that ability to get his thoughts across clearly, concisely, but also with, some depth.
And he chose public administration as his optional subject, right?
He did. Which might not sound super exciting, but strategically, it often makes sense. It's got a pretty defined syllabus, and it links well with the general studies papers.
Right.
And it worked. This time, he got through both the prelims and the mains. He made it to the interview stage.
Okay, the interview, that's a whole different beast, isn't it? Oh, totally. It's not just testing what you know. It's about digging into who you are, your personality, how you see the world, how you think on your feet, how you handle pressure.
Right. You're facing this panel of really experienced people, senior bureaucrats, right?
Exactly. And they can ask you about anything. Current affairs,
Yeah.
ethical dilemmas, hypothetical crises, you name it. They're trying to gauge if you have the right temperament, the analytical capability for a really demanding role.
Basically, do you have what it takes to handle that level of responsibility?
Precisely. And Venkatesh must have impressed them. His rank was good enough to get him into the Indian Police Service, the IPS.
IPS, that's still a huge achievement.
Absolutely massive. And back in Alladapeta, huge celebrations. You have to imagine the pride in the village, the sheer joy seeing one of their own make it that far. The village head, the sarpanch, apparently threw a big feast.
That's fantastic. It really shows that community spirit, doesn't it? Sharing in the success.
It really does. His parents were obviously thrilled. Though his mother, Rohini, apparently had some worries, understandably, about the dangers involved in police work.
Sure, that makes sense.
But here's the kicker. Even after getting into the IPS, which is a major achievement in itself,
Yeah.
his main goal was still the IAS.
Wow. He saw the IPS as, what, a step along the way?
It seems like it. A valuable experience, definitely, but not the final destination for him. The IAS dream was still burning bright.
That is some serious focus. Incredible determination. Most people would be over the moon with the IPS.
Right. It's a highly respected service. But he had his sights set even higher. So, 2024, he goes for it again. Third attempt at the UPSC.
Okay. And now he has some practical experience under his belt from the IPS training, presumably.
Exactly. That must have given him a much deeper insight into how administration actually works, how public service operates on the ground. And he made a big move, relocated to Delhi.
Right into the heart of UPSC prep land.
The epicenter. Immersing himself in that super competitive environment. He wanted the best resources, the most intense preparation available.
Did he study alone?
He actually formed a study group, which can be incredibly helpful. Bouncing ideas off people, getting different viewpoints, keeping each other motivated when things get tough.
Yeah, that support network must be crucial.
Definitely. So he cleared the prelims again in June 2024. Then faced that marathon mains exam again in September. And this time, he had more to draw on, not just the books, but his real-world understanding, his connection to rural issues. He could likely make his answers much more nuanced, more grounded.
And then the final interview. Again.
The final hurdle, there's a little detail. Apparently, he had to borrow a suit for it.
Really? That just,
Including
it speaks volumes about his background, doesn't it?
So he's facing this panel again, these experienced interviewers who've seen it all. And they grilled him on all sorts of things.
Any standout moments?
There was one question about tackling corruption. His answer really seemed to hit home. He compared corruption to a deep-rooted weed,
Okay.
saying it needed to be pulled out completely, roots and all, eradicated.
That's a strong image.
It is. It shows not just that he understands the problem intellectually, but that he has a mindset geared towards systemic solutions, towards taking real action. And that's exactly the kind of thinking they look for.
You can see why that would resonate.
Definitely. And then, April 2025,
Yeah.
the final results came out.
The moment of truth.
Rank 15, IAS. He'd done it. The dream he'd chased for so long from that village banyan tree,
Yeah.
it was real.
Rank 15. Incredible. And the reaction back home in Alladapeta, Must have been insane.
Oh, absolutely electric. Reports of fireworks lighting up the sky, drums beating, banners everywhere celebrating him. You can just feel that wave of collective joy, immense pride washing over the village.
Amazing.
Even a union minister, K. Ramahan Naidu, apparently called him personally to congratulate him.
That's huge. It's just one of those stories, isn't it? It seems almost too improbable to be true, but it actually happened.
It really captures the imagination. But let's think about the person behind the rank for a second.
Yeah, what's he like?
Well, descriptions paint him as someone pretty grounded. Simple tastes, likes filter coffee apparently,
Okay.
hates excuses, and seems genuinely committed to serving people in need. He mentioned that to the minister who called him.
So, not some detached bureaucrat figure.
Doesn't sound like it.
Cool.
Seems to have a good sense of humor, too. He apparently joked that the fear of having to go back and explain failure to his village was actually a bigger motivator for him than the pressure of the exam itself.
That's brilliant. It really shows how connected he still is to his roots, doesn't it? And the weight of those expectations, but also, yeah, perspective.
Exactly. And it underlines that his journey wasn't purely solo. We mentioned his parents, their unwavering support, even if his dad's grasp of what the IAS was exactly was, let's say, endearingly vague. His sister, who's a teacher, helped him practically, getting him study notes and materials.
Right.
And even his IPS batchmates, the ones who apparently nicknamed him the Dreamer, they provided encouragement, that sense of camaraderie.
So a whole network of support.
Definitely. And you can't forget Alladapeta itself. That small village, yeah, it had limitations, but it was also his foundation. It gave him his understanding of rural challenges. It fueled that desire to make a difference. His success shouts loud and clear that where you start doesn't have to dictate how far you can go.
So true. So what's next for him?
Well, as of early May 2025, he's getting ready for the foundational IAS training course up in Missouri at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration.
The big training academy.
That's the one. And he's been very clear about his priorities. He wants to focus on rural development, specifically aiming to improve things in villages like his own. Better schools, better roads, more job opportunities.
Wow. It really feels like it's come full circle, doesn't it? Someone who came from that environment is now in a position to go back and uplift similar places.
It's a powerful narrative. And maybe that brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Venkatesh's story, it really throws a spotlight on the excuses we sometimes make for ourselves, doesn't it? You know, it's too hard, or I don't have the resources, or I'm not from the right background. His journey is just such compelling proof that your circumstances don't have to be your destiny. Remember that image. The kerosene lamp under the banyan tree, lighting up those borrowed books.
Yeah, sticks with you.
It's such a potent symbol, isn't it? Of just taking that first step, using whatever you have, no matter how small it seems. Venkatesh lit his lamp. He started. And look where it took him.
Maybe it's time for everyone listening to think about lighting their own lamp, whatever that might be.
Exactly. And start writing your own story.